we're actually recording this a few days before the US election. So I want to ask you, when we switch focus a little bit and use your domain expertise here to talk. Sometimes when you follow the news cycles on social media, there's so much noise, right? There's so much going on. But sitting in India, what is your considered take on what happens next? What is it that is really at stake for a country like India, no matter who wins the elections in the US?
Well, certainly. And, the noise around this particular US election is so much more. I think also because of the unpredictable nature of the campaign itself. Firstly, I have to say that 4 years ago, when Donald Trump lost the elections in the US, most thought he'd be buried neck deep in cases so high that he would never be able to stand for election again. So it's certainly the first shocker is Donald Trump is not just back in the race, but that he is the Republicans' unanimous choice for candidate. Then, of course, we saw more recently the kind of excitement over whether Biden was fit to, whether the US President Joseph Biden was fit to be the Democratic candidate or not, given his health, given the kind of, sort of vagueness that was coming out in a lot of his speeches and a lot of disconnect that people were reporting. And that was then followed by the excitement of Kamala Harris being anointed, really, because they didn't go through another election at that point, anointed the Democrat Party contender. Just before that, we had, of course, this assassination attempt on Donald Trump. It's just been such an unprecedented election in so many ways. And it takes you away from what are the issues that are involved. Even it seems almost as if it's just about personalities right now. That you're either going to be, interested in someone like Trump, who promises to be everything he was the last time around, which is unpredictable. But this image that he's not from the sort of clique of Washington, and then you have Kamala Harris, who represents everything that Trump is not. She is, sort of has been a vice president for the last 4 years. So she, in a sense, is a legacy candidate, represents a lot of the policies of the current government, and has to, good for her or bad for her, take responsibility for them. The issues for India now that you asked about, at the start, I will say that from 1999, I think, when we are now 25 years from that date, and the end of the sanctions by the US against India for the nuclear test, we have actually seen an improvement of India-US ties year upon year. There is no year where you can't say India-US ties didn't take a great, leap forward and, and aren't better on a number of issues. And there's, of course, the nuclear deal was a big one, but every year there's something else that we've signed together that the two countries really are very, very proud of, and say have changed the paradigm, as it were, from any period of history before that 1999 period. I think there are some years when relations go forward much faster. There are some years where there is a little bit of a lag. And I will say honestly, the 2024 has been a year of a little bit of a lag in that sense, particularly if you compare it with the previous year, and we can discuss the reasons for that. I think what India will be really looking for is whoever comes to the White House really wants to hit the floor running with the India relationship. With Trump, we know what his focus is going to be. It's going to be on the tariffs. It's going to be about trying to cut a trade deal. It's going to be about bringing down Indian non-tariff barriers as well, making ease of business a lot better. Those are the kind of issues that he's always criticized India for. But he's likely to give the Modi government and India a much easier time when it comes to some of the issues we've seen the Biden and Harris administration pick up in the last few years. The concerns about democracy in decline, the concerns about human rights violations, the concerns about minority rights, the farmers' protests, the Citizenship Amendment Act, and more recently, the concerns about what they call transnational repression, and the idea that Indian government agents are alleged to have been involved in a plot to kill a Khalistani activist in the US and, of course, in Canada as well. So those are some of the big noises that, if you like, have slowed down some of the momentum between India and the US in these years. If Kamala Harris were to come to power, obviously there would be a sense that she would carry forth some of those concerns. Not so much with Trump. So that's baseline around this particular. But I think when it comes to technology, when it comes to defense ties, when it comes to strategic ties, when it comes to the Indo-Pacific, when it comes to businesses working with each other and investing in each other's countries, both of them would really just take the trajectory forward between the two countries. So I don't think India is that worried. Final point would be, how would those two leaders deal with the other countries in South Asia? And Trump, of course, it's all unpredictable. He woke up one day and the tweet he put out was that he would no longer be giving any assistance to Pakistan, and canceled all assistance to Pakistan. And then maybe a few months later, we suddenly saw him invite the then Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan to the White House and say, actually, we're going to get together and solve Kashmir between us. And the Prime Minister of India has even asked me to mediate, which was then repudiated. But the point is, you have no idea what is going to come when it comes geopolitically from Trump. I do think, apart from the neighborhood, and Bangladesh is another pointed case, but apart from the neighborhood, we'll be watching for the next president's attitude towards Ukraine in particular, because a Trump administration will necessarily, announcements made, cut down a little bit of the support to Ukraine, perhaps, but also may also reopen ties with Russia. That would take some of the pressure off New Delhi.